You think you know someone. You think the life you've built together is unshakable. That's what I believed when I married Sophie. We were young in love and ready to take on the world. If you had asked me back then, I would have sworn she was my soulmate, the one person who would never betray me. But life has a cruel way of proving how little you really know. Our marriage wasn't perfect, no marriage is, but it was ours. We had our inside jokes, late-night talks about our dreams, and a bond that I thought could weather anything. Sophie was everything to me. She had this way of lighting up a room with her laugh, and I trusted her in a way I had never trusted anyone before. When Sophie told me she was pregnant, I remember feeling like the luckiest man alive. We had talked about having kids for years, dreaming about what it would be like to start a family together. The news should have been the happiest moment of my life. I remember holding her hand, imagining our future, the tiny clothes, sleepless nights, and the joy of raising a child together. Looking back, I wonder if I missed the signs. Was I too blinded by love to see the cracks? Or did I trust her so completely that I ignored what should have been obvious? At the time, none of that mattered. I was all in, completely devoted to her and the family we were about to build. The thought of this new life brought a sense of hope. I started making plans, picking out baby names, preparing the nursery. I even began thinking about how to balance work and family, how I could be a better partner to Sophie and a better father to the baby. It felt like we were on the verge of something wonderful. Maybe this was our second chance. When the baby finally arrived, I felt like the luckiest man alive. Holding that tiny little boy in my arms, watching his tiny hands curl around my finger, I believed this was my child. The love I felt in that moment was overwhelming. This baby brought so much joy to our lives. He was a symbol of everything I had hoped for, everything I had dreamed of. Little did I know, the life I thought we were creating together was built on a lie. It all started with a joke, a harmless comment at a family gathering that seemed funny at the time, but stuck with me in ways I couldn't explain. My cousin, grinning as he cradled my son, remarked, "You know, this little guy doesn't look like anyone in the family." Maybe he got his looks from Sophie's side. Everyone laughed, myself included, but the words settled in the back of my mind like an itch I couldn't scratch. Over the next few days, I found myself glancing at my son more often. His tiny face, so innocent, now seemed like a puzzle I couldn't piece together. I tried to brush it off. Why am I even thinking like this? I told myself, but the thought wouldn't leave. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I told myself it was just to put my mind at ease, nothing more. So one afternoon, I drove to a clinic, carrying a sample of my son's DNA and my own. I didn't tell Sophie. How could I? She'd think I was crazy, paranoid even. The guilt of going behind her back ate at me. But the need to know the truth was stronger. The results came back a week later. I remember holding the envelope in my hands, my palms damp with sweat. My heart raced as I opened it, and there it was, in black and white. Probability of paternity, 0%. I read the words over and over, hoping I'd misunderstood, but the meaning was clear. He wasn't my son. I felt a mix of emotions, shock, disbelief, anger, and a deep, aching sadness that I couldn't put into words. My mind raced with questions. How? Why? When? But there were no answers, only the cold, brutal truth staring back at me. I wanted to confront Sophie right then and there, but what would that accomplish? Even if she admitted to everything, it wouldn't erase the betrayal. It wouldn't change the fact that the child I'd been loving and caring for wasn't mine. For days, I carried the secret like a stone in my chest. I avoided Sophie's eyes, terrified that she'd see through me and know what I'd discovered. At night, I lay awake, replaying every moment of our relationship in my mind, searching for signs I might have missed. Was it a one-time mistake? An ongoing affair? Did she ever love me? Or was our entire marriage built on a lie? In those moments, I felt completely alone. My marriage, my family, the life I thought I had. It all felt like a house of cards that had come crashing down. And the worst part was, I didn't know what to do next. The pain was too much to bear, and I knew I couldn't stay. I had to get away. I made the decision to leave without telling her. It wasn't easy, but I didn't see another way. I sold everything I could behind her back, the car, some furniture, even my tools. Every sale felt like I was cutting away pieces of the life we had built together, but I convinced myself it was necessary. I needed enough money to disappear, to start over somewhere far away where she couldn't find me. Changing my identity was like shedding my old skin. I abandoned my name, my history, everything that tied me to the man I used to be. I bought a one-way ticket to another country, one I had never even thought of visiting before. I didn't know anyone there, but that was the point. I wanted a place where I could be invisible, where no one knew my story. At first, it felt freeing to be so far from everything, but the relief didn't last. The memories followed me like shadows. I would wake up in the middle of the night, sweating and angry, replaying the moment I found out the child wasn't mine. I tried to keep busy, taking on any work I could find, from waiting tables to stocking shelves. Anything to keep my mind off Sophie and the life I had left behind. But the pain didn't go away. It just settled in, like an ache I couldn't shake. I told myself I was done with her, that I'd never look back. But sometimes, late at night, when the city was quiet and my thoughts were loud, I'd wonder, was she okay? Had she raised the child alone? Did she ever regret what she did to me? I hated that I still cared even after everything. Sophie had been my whole world once, and even though she shattered it, I couldn't erase her completely. Those questions haunted me, and I knew I'd never get answers. So I focused on building a new life. Years passed, and I poured all my energy into starting over. At first, I felt like a shadow of myself, a man drifting through life without purpose. But in time, I found a rhythm, a new job in a new city, and a quiet sense of peace that came from not looking back. It was during this time of rebuilding that I met Maria. She worked as a nurse, and we met during a visit to the local hospital in the new country. At first, I wasn't looking for anything serious. I had convinced myself that love wasn't for me anymore. But Maria had a way of breaking down my walls without even trying. As our relationship grew, I realized how much I had been holding back. At first, I didn't tell her much about my past. I was afraid how she will react to it. But one evening, over a simple dinner at her apartment, I told her everything. The marriage, the betrayal, and the child that wasn't mine. I braced myself for judgment, but all she did was take my hand and say, "That must have been so hard for you." That moment changed everything. After I found love with Maria, I knew I had to end my past completely. So I made the decision to go back home and legally end things with Sophie. It was time to make it official, to close that chapter for good. As soon as I returned, I hired a lawyer to serve Sophie with the divorce papers. I didn't want any direct contact with her, but somehow, she managed to get my contact information through the lawyer. That's when she started calling me, asking to meet. At first, I ignored her. Why would I meet with someone who had hurt me so badly? But then, something in her voice, the way she pleaded, made me agree to meet her. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the faint hope of getting some kind of closure. I didn't know. I wasn't sure I wanted to see her again, but I couldn't stop myself. When we finally met, I could see the years had changed her. She was older, but the guilt in her eyes was clear. Sophie started talking right away, almost as if she was waiting for me to let her speak. She said when I left, she had no idea what happened to me. She was scared I had gotten hurt or something terrible had happened. I could tell she meant it, but part of me couldn't help but wonder, was she truly worried about me, or was she just trying to justify her actions? She told me that after so many years, when she saw the divorce papers, she finally realized it was her affair that had caused me to disappear. The truth was out there now, and it was staring her in the face. I wasn't angry in that moment, but I wasn't ready to forgive her either. Sophie tried to apologize, her voice trembling as she explained herself. She said it was a mistake, that it was just a goodbye affair with her ex before we got married. She seemed so sincere, and yet something about her words felt off. She was begging for my forgiveness, telling me she was sorry for everything that happened, that she had changed over the years. I wanted to believe her. Part of me really did. But the other part of me, the part that had lived through all the pain, couldn't let go that easily. No matter how much Sophie says she's sorry, no matter how much she begs for forgiveness, I know one thing for sure. I'm never going to let go of Maria. I'm not going back to a woman who did me dirty, who lied to me, and who tore my life apart. I looked at Sophie, standing there, waiting for me to say something. I could see the hope in her eyes, the desperation to hear the words that would somehow undo everything that had happened. But I knew that there was no going back. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Sophie," I began, my voice firm but calm, "I'm sorry, but I can't do this. I've moved on. I'm in a serious relationship now, and I can't give you what you want. I've tried to move on with my life, and I can't go back to the way things were." She looked at me, and I could see the hurt in her eyes. But there was also a quiet acceptance, like she knew this was coming. She didn't fight it. She just nodded, tears starting to fall down her cheeks. "I know," she whispered. "I know I can't change what I did, and I never expected you to forget it. I wanted to try. I wanted to make things right." The truth is, I didn't know if she was really sorry. I didn't know if she understood the full weight of what she had done. But I didn't need to know anymore. It didn't matter. I looked at her, my heart heavy but resolute. "If you want closure, we can finalize the divorce, sign the papers, and we can avoid making this messier than it already is. But we both know it's time to move on." There was a pause, and for a moment I thought she might argue. But she didn't. Instead, she just wiped her eyes and nodded. "Okay," she said quietly. "I'll sign the papers." And just like that, it was over. We agreed to part ways without a fight, without dragging everything into a courtroom. Sophie walked out of my life again, but this time, there was no more uncertainty, no more lingering hope on either side. The past was done. As I sat there alone in that quiet room, I felt something shift inside me. I had forgiven her, but not for her. I had forgiven her for me. I couldn't keep carrying that anger, that pain. I couldn't let it define who I was anymore. I had to let it go. I had built a new life, one that didn't include Sophie. I had a new family, new relationships. And even though part of me would always carry the scars from what happened, I couldn't let that past control me anymore. It was time to move forward. And for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I was finally free.